Greetings, students, and welcome to this special episode of The Professor Travel Domestic Edition. I am your host, The Professor Travel, coming to you from Orange County, California. This is the website, the vlog, and the podcast that you come to in order to learn more about different travel destinations. This is where you go in order to discuss them as a community. Hopefully, this will inspire you to travel more and enjoy life more. Now, you can reach me on a variety of different social media platforms, including starting first with my website at theprofessortravel.com, but you can also reach me through YouTube, Facebook, and now on TikTok at The Professor Travel. If you're an Instagrammer, you can find me there at the_professor_travel. If you're a Twitter I don't know how you'd say it, you can find me at theprofessortr1 there. And then if you're a blogger, you can find me on Blogspot at theprofessortravel.blogspot.com. Today, I am very pleased to introduce you to a friend of mine, a former colleague of mine. Our visiting professor today is Bryan Johnson. Say hi, Bryan.
Hello out there. I really appreciate you having me here.
I appreciate you coming on board and giving us your little knowledge about Philadelphia and all of Pennsylvania as best you possibly can. So before we jump into that, though, can I talk to you a little bit about some of your credentials so that way my students can be familiar with who you are and what you do?
Sure, not a problem at all. So I'm currently a middle school business teacher in Middletown, Delaware. I have a bachelor's in management. I have a master's in leadership, a second master's in public administration and government and policy. And then I also have a certificate in life coaching.
Fantastic.
And traveling. Mm-hmm. I've done a little bit of traveling around the United States. I've been to quite a few states, all up and down the East Coast. Been to Dallas and Houston.
And we're resuming with a special guest. You want to introduce her?
Hello, this is one of my daughters, Nyla.
Hey, Nyla. Hi, little princess. Okay. Nyla. So, again, do you want to just reiterate again your educational credentials there?
Sure. So I have a bachelor's in management, and then also a master's in leadership. I have a second master's in public administration and government and policy. And then I also took some time to become a certified life coach.
Nice.
And right now, although I had 13 years of being a college advisor, I decided to become a middle school teacher. And that's something that I'm truly enjoying doing right now.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
Now, you've traveled a little bit domestically. Have you traveled at all internationally?
If you want to count Jamaica, Bahamas, Canada, sure.
Absolutely. I haven't been there, and I've been to 23 countries already. So yeah, but hey, I wanted to go to the Caribbean earlier this year, but that got canceled due to COVID. So unfortunately it is what it is. Right. So today we were going to talk about Pennsylvania, which is where you were at for quite some time, if I'm correct.
Yes, sir. I lived there for about 10 years, but I've always lived near Pennsylvania. So I'm from Willingboro, New Jersey, which is right across the bridge from Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. And we worked together in Jersey, so that wasn't too terribly far from there.
Right.
So let's talk really quickly about the history, at least some of the history that you know about the state of Pennsylvania. What do you recall in terms of what are the big events of PA?
Well, from what I know, Philadelphia itself is truly a national landmark for the United States. That's where the Constitution was signed. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of important folks that was in the beginning of our inception, should I say, like Betsy Ross, Benjamin Franklin, folks like that. Yeah. That's why it's a huge tourist area, because it has a lot of that history still there. So I think that the city itself does a really good job preserving the history. If you are a history buff or even if you're not, it's definitely, just a beautiful place to go, as well as many museums. So they have a Civil War museum, they have an African-American museum. There's a few other ones in terms of historical museums. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they have quite a few for those as history buffs.
Excellent. And then more recent history in terms of the sports teams and the like. When did some of those get started in the area? Do you know?
Well, Philadelphia, I'm more of a Philadelphia Eagles fan, just to let you know.
Okay.
But Philadelphia Eagles have been around probably since like the 20s.
Okay.
It's considered an older team for the NFL is what it is today. So you have the Eagles, you have the Philadelphia Flyers, the Philadelphia Phillies for baseball. Then on the Pittsburgh side, which is the west side, you have the Steelers, the Penguins. So the state itself, in terms of its fandom when it comes to sports, is completely split down the middle.
Okay.
The west side is for Pittsburgh, and the east side is for Philadelphia.
Okay, cool. So talk to me a little bit about the geography. Like, what are the states that border your area?
Okay, great question. So on the east side, you have New Jersey.
Okay.
Um, I believe a tip of New York.
Yes.
No, no, New York. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
New
borders.
York's definitely there because my
Yeah, New
relatives are on
York
the
is
border.
all the way to the north. All the way to the north. Right.
Yep.
You're right. Ohio to the west.
Mhm.
You have Maryland, and I'm not sure how if West Virginia borders it, but it is fairly close, especially when it comes to the Pittsburgh side.
Okay, cool. And then in terms of like, I mean, obviously, just from these pictures that I see, it's beautiful. It's you've got it's very picturesque as far as the plains, and they've got a little bit of the mountainous area as well. It's very lush. It seems like there's a lot of maybe the changing of the colors of the trees and stuff like that during the fall.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. If you were to jump on the Pennsylvania Turnpike and go from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, you're bound to just get an amazing experience of the beauty of nature. So not only will you get those kind of picturesque images that you're seeing now, but you will also go up and down the Appalachian mountain chains. And it's just beautiful.
Excellent. Now, that being said, there is a little bit of extreme weather that comes with this too.
Right.
So the summers are beautiful, and then the winters are obviously very, very cold sometimes.
Correct. Correct. In Pennsylvania itself, you get the four seasons. You get
Mhm.
at least 3 months of each season. That's kind of how I put it. So your summers, as you say, you may have a heat wave, but you also may have a blizzard.
That's true.
So the spring and the fall, in my opinion, are so beautiful. To me, those are my favorite parts of the year because I don't necessarily need a cold. On I can go outside and enjoy the weather without either freezing to death or sweating to death.
Which is awesome. Now, culture.
Right.
When we talk about culture in the area, I mean, obviously there's huge historical presence there because it's one of those places that's been around for quite some time. But in terms of the religion in the area, it's predominantly Christian, I think, or aspects of Christianity. I mean, you have the Mennonites, you have Amish, a huge Amish presence over there,
Right.
Protestants, Catholics, and then of course, as you get into the cities, you get a little bit more of a diverse religious culture. Have you interacted at all with the Amish country because that's like a huge area of Pennsylvania?
Yes, I'm only an hour from Amish country now, and
Nice.
not too long ago, I would say about a year ago, I went to Lancaster, Pennsylvania to see this. They have this beautiful show called Jesus, and it's in a theater. It's a 360 theater. So the play, it's a live play, and they put it on, and you can literally, you're watching a play. It's a 180 degree stage that they use, and
Oh,
it's absolutely beautiful. But in general, you definitely get a lot of Amish in the mid part of the state. Philadelphia, they have a lot of old Catholic churches and they're beautiful, humongous, like story high chapels and things like that. So you'll see a lot of that, but it is a huge mixture as well. Philadelphia is one of those cities that just, it has a place for everyone. So
excellent. Now, you were talking to me earlier. There's a little bit of a thriving art community in that area, correct?
yes, yes. So if you go to Philadelphia, you're bound to want to take one of those mural tours. So they're really big on showing off their murals. They're really excited about that. And just in general, I mean, you have art galleries, different things like that in Philadelphia. They're very proud of their art.
And then in terms of the language, it's predominantly English. There's not really yeah, any other languages. As far as foods, because of course I'm a foodie. I love really good food. Uh, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Philly cheesesteak, world renowned Philly cheesesteak. Although I'm told it's prepared a couple of different ways depending upon where
Right.
you're at. So, and then of course, tasty cakes, the pretzel.
Yep.
There's a lot of different things in terms of food that you can get there. Anything I'm missing? I mean, Amish apple butter, stuff like that.
Well, you know what I will tell you, since you're a foodie, if you ever come to Philadelphia, a place that you really want to check out, there's this one place that has all that you mentioned in one location. It's called the Reading Terminal. So it's right down downtown on Philadelphia off of Market Street. And it's this huge warehouse that's connected to the convention center. And there's probably there's over 100 different vendors and stores there, selling all different kinds of food. From the Amish food, the Amish have their own section, and there's a few cheesesteak places. You have some Thai food in there, which is actually my favorite.
Hmm.
Delicious salmon and rice with shrimp. Oh, it's absolutely delicious. You have some soul food spots in there,
Oh, of
and
course.
a lot of desserts. I'm
Hmm.
trying to watch my one pack, but there's a lot of desserts there. So Reading Terminal was a place that you definitely want to go. It's so much so. It's kind of like the Cheesecake Factory menu where you have so many options. You're not really sure which way to go.
Yeah, it's like a whole book of
There you'll
stuff.
feel that way.
Yeah. Now we talked about a few of the obviously the few of the great sports teams that are over in PA, but one of the other recreational spots that we didn't really discuss is Hershey. And people know Hershey for its chocolate, but they also have a entire town that's pretty much, they have like I think they have roller coasters and stuff like that
Yeah,
too
a
there.
theme park.
They have a theme park, yeah. So
It's like
are there
Six Flags, man.
I was going to say, are there any other like Six Flags or any other types of amusement parks in the Pennsylvania area that you can talk to?
Sesame Place.
Sesame Place, what's that?
Sesame Street. They have
Yeah.
a theme park.
Do they really? This is
Yes.
the first time I'm hearing about it. So
It's awesome, man. It's in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, which is I want to say about 30 minutes north of Philadelphia.
nice. Okay, cool. And then
Mm.
any state holidays that you can think of? Or
None that I can think of.
okay, not a
Back
problem.
to the theme parks too. I do want to add in Lancaster, they have a smaller theme park, and I believe it's called like Castle on the Hills. It's an old, it's a theme park that kind of mimics like castles and
Hmm.
different things like that.
Nice.
It's supposed to be a really fun place. I haven't been there, but I have driven by. You see a huge castle when you drive by.
Okay, that would be worth it. That sounds like that would be
Right.
kind of sick. I like that. And of course, I probably should go back and mention, of course, if you're going to Philly specifically, there's probably a ton of Independence Hall tours and the Liberty
Yes.
Bell tours and stuff like that that you can get that are just going to be monumental.
The great thing with the Liberty Bell, it's no cost. You go straight in.
Hmm.
Um, if it's the weekend, you will see, experience a line. During the week, you probably take you 5 minutes. However, if there is a line and you just want to see the Liberty Bell, what you do is on the left side of the street, which is maybe Fifth Street, if you drive to the corner and just look perpendicular, you can see straight through the building and you'll see the Liberty Bell.
It's kind
You
of
don't
like
have to stand in line.
it's a hack. That's great.
That's the quick way to do it.
Now, in terms of the population, Pennsylvania in general is a fairly sizable population, but it looks like majority of the population is in the southeast and a little bit in the west. Is that correct?
Correct.
What are the
Correct. So what
cities?
you see on this map, the southeast is Philadelphia, and the west is Pittsburgh. So in between, you have smaller cities. So if you go maybe an inch over to the left of Philadelphia, you'll see Harrisburg.
Yeah.
And then to the north, you'll have like Allentown, Scranton, Bethlehem, those areas. And then all the way to the very top left, that's where that serial killer, that was what's his name? Oh man, I forgot his name. Oh, I'm gonna have to come back to you on that. That's where they recently caught that one guy. He was in the northwest part of the state.
Oh,
I'm
that's a happy thing. I'm glad
Yeah.
they
Oh,
caught
I
him.
know. But that's where he was, man. It was crazy.
Oh, well, I hope you're nowhere near that. So protect you and the kids.
No,
And
no,
I,
no.
I just looked up the population. It looks like you're about 13 million in Pennsylvania overall. So that wouldn't surprise me that, you probably have a good couple of million
Right,
in each of those larger cities. But it looks like there's just such a population center in the Southeast within and around the,
right, right,
the
right, right.
Philadelphia area. So doesn't surprise me there. Now, in terms of the economy of the area, I mean, obviously there's a huge number of companies, Comcast, PNC, Penske, Alcoa, Rite Aid. But a couple other ones that you had mentioned to me, obviously, Urban Outfitters was a big one that you said was out there as well.
Yes, that is by the Navy Yard, and the Navy Yard
And
is
Navy Yard, yeah,
absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so right by the Navy Yard, you'll see about 7 old decommissioned Navy ships.
yeah,
I mean, they have several companies there, but Urban Outfitters is the bigger one there. And then it's also only 1 mile from the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. And then also it borders the Delaware River. So it's just a beautiful area to be in.
absolutely. And then in terms of travel and transportation, I think more than any other state that I have been to, trains are the big thing in Pennsylvania. It's a sizable state, but the easiest way to get around for the most part seemed to be the train system, and it seems pretty well developed.
Extremely. You can pretty much get anywhere in the state through the trains. Um, in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, I mean, there's many people that do not drive. So between the trains, they also have Charlies as
Mm,
well, especially in Philadelphia. In Pittsburgh, they were trying out the self-driving Uber cars.
yeah, how did that work?
It was fine. They had an accident, but it wasn't in Pittsburgh. It was somewhere else.
Okay,
And they Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh was built on the mountain.
okay.
There's a lot of hills and quick turns and stuff like that. So Uber figured if our self-driving cars can successfully drive through Pittsburgh, they can drive anywhere.
Nice. And then you guys have a couple of major airports in the state. You have obviously Pittsburgh and you have Philly, both of which are a little bit
Philadelphia.
dated, but you know, but the thing that stands out to me, and this is something that I think you just have to see it when you go into the the Philadelphia area, is Penn Station. It's just
Mm,
crazy huge. It looks like some kind of a national monument on a hillside.
it
I mean,
does.
is that the one that Rocky ran up during the?
No, that was an art museum.
That was the art museum. Okay, so
Right.
again, going out to.
But where you at in Penn Station, if you look over to your the northwest, you'll see the art museum.
Okay, cool, awesome. And obviously, people will go and tourist dive there for those steps where Rocky goes up. Um, Betsy Ross's place. That's another one. Anything else in
Boathouse Row.
Independence Hall, where they signed the
Hmm.
Declaration of Independence. And then of course all the sports teams in the area. There's a lot of stuff to do. But then obviously Hershey, Pennsylvania, for the amusement park and stuff like that.
Right. You also have Boathouse Row, which is where all the colleges have their uh, they own a boathouse, so that's where they do all the boat competitions,
Oh, cool.
uh, rowing and stuff like that. It's really beautiful over there. And then in terms of tourism, you have Eastern State Penitentiary, where Al Capone was. That's a museum, and then also for Halloween, they turn it into Fright Fest type of thing.
Oh no, that's cool
Right,
though.
and it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah,
Seems like
so
it'd be a
you'll
lot of
see a
fun.
line that people are in the line for like 3 4 hours trying to get in there.
Oh man. Okay, cool. Well, I'll have to think about it. And Halloween's coming up, at the time of recording here,
That's
so
right.
about a month away. So just be good. Now, in terms of the government, now in the government of the state of Pennsylvania, it's kind of split because you get some areas that are heavily Democratic, and then you have others that are much more rural, and that's um, far more conservative. But in total, the state is like almost evenly split because of that. Would you agree?
Right. I agree. I agree. See, most of the population is in the city of Philadelphia. In the city of Philadelphia, it's the population is so high, it makes it seem like the state is blue, but the majority of the state, in terms of just the landscape itself, most of it is conservative. So from Pittsburgh, most of the rural areas, most of them are conservative.
Okay.
But the population of Philadelphia is so much higher, it makes it seem as if the state itself is liberal.
When you were living there, was the state government kind of the same too, where it was also uh, more or less split, or was it predominantly conservative, or was it predominantly liberal?
Mostly in terms of state government, you'll get more Democrats.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of just the election, the Democrats usually win, but again, most of those votes are coming from the Philadelphia area.
Mm, okay, that makes sense. And then in terms of resources, it seems like you guys have a lot of coal production there, oil, steel. Although
Mhm.
as I said, my relatives, they're up in the Scranton area, and where you get around like things like Allentown and just Bethlehem. It seems like the steel production's kind of dried up a little bit in that area.
Right. Well, that's why they call Pittsburgh Steel City, because
Mm,
that could be really the hub of steel. And then when the factories started going down, a lot of people lost jobs and moved away, and things like that. Allentown itself is just really beautiful. It's more up the mountains. You'll get a lot of those. If you're driving up there, you'll go through a lot of tunnels that's going straight through a mountain, which is just really cool if you haven't seen something like that. But in general, Allentown is more from what I know, a lot of people that retire now move up there. You
Okay.
know,
So
you have
they changed it a little bit more, so it's less of a resource town, more of a retirement commune.
right, but then you also have the Poconos, so people go up there to
I
get
keep
away.
hearing about the Poconos. That's supposed to be a really nice like skiing spot and stuff like that. And
Yep, really nice for skiing. A lot of people do a quick honeymoon there.
ah, that's cool. And then in
Yeah.
terms of education, obviously you have some amazing colleges that are out in the area, including Penn State, Carnegie Mellon. There's one I left off here that you were talking about before. I'm trying to remember who it was.
University of Penn.
University of Pennsylvania. Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
And then in terms of the literacy rate, do you happen to know maybe how the literacy rate is in the state?
I'm not sure because I have not taught in Pennsylvania. All of my teaching experiences in Delaware.
Delaware. Yeah.
And when I was in Pennsylvania, I didn't have any children either. So
Okay.
I wasn't really looking. But in terms of the universities, we also have to add in Temple University,
Yes.
Drexel University.
Hmm.
Those are also really big there.
Moravian College, obviously.
Widener, Westchester, Newman. But the big names would be those.
And I mean, obviously, a lot of these colleges are hundreds of years old in some cases. They've been there forever. Um, is this pretty much where a lot of the colleges got started in the
Started.
country? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Oh,
so.
to the point of Hershey. Hershey also has a boarding school.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well, that's one place to that's one
I
place to
wouldn't go
live
to the
in.
boarding school, but they have
Well,
it.
that's cool.
Beautiful.
And then as far as safety and security, what is your knowledge about the crime element in the area?
The biggest issue in Philadelphia, I would say, would start with the drug problem.
Mhm.
So there's a place in Philadelphia, there's a section of Philadelphia called Kensington,
Okay.
and Kensington right now is the biggest drug market in the world. And if you go through Kensington, it's a very scary, uncomfortable place to be. No one will probably mess with you, but it's just scary and just because how the environment
Is it
is.
just kind of a little bit sketchy? Is the way you kind of
Oh,
comes
it's
comes
sketchy.
across?
It's a
It
lot
is
of
sketchy.
sketchy.
It is a lot of
It's,
sketchy. Okay.
you just openly see drug trades and people walking like zombies because they're unfortunately
Hi.
high and things like that. The police really cannot control it. I really think they're just trying to contain them to that one area.
Mm.
So that's the Kensington section of Philadelphia, which if you were a tourist, you would not go to. It's nowhere close to downtown, so it's nothing to worry about. But outside of that, unfortunately, Philadelphia has always battled their murder rate. And the reason why it is because Philadelphia itself has a huge struggle with poverty. So it's a huge section that's just, struggling and impoverished. And you have a lot of old issues that's kind of recycling itself. So it's a lot. Philadelphia doesn't really have gangs like the West Coast. They more represent their street. Their street itself is kind of like a gang, and you kind of have a lot of back and forth with that. But it's mostly all inner residents, and things like that. So it's unfortunate, but those are the issues that they're fighting right now. Um, the new prosecutor, Krasner, is really trying to focus on poverty, but then also, a lot of talks about the crime bill and things like that. He's actually doing a different approach to drug crimes, especially when it comes to just, someone having just like a simple bag or something like that. Instead of putting them away for 5 or 10 years, they're doing alternatives to try to get them, back into society, but more productive members of society. So I do like his approach. It's much more humane. And even when it comes to the bail system itself, they're more, they're trying to help out those that cannot afford bail. So
Mhm.
people are not just sitting and riding into a trial. Philadelphia was known for that, where a lot
Okay.
of people were sitting in jails for a while just because they couldn't afford bail. And that's actually not too long ago. They were in Philadelphia when they were tearing down statues, and they were talking about an old mayor named Rizzo,
Okay.
and that's one of the mayors that President Trump was giving praise to,
Okay.
Mayor Rizzo. Well, he was really tough on crime, and there was a lot of people that unfortunately went to jail for some really silly reasons, and that's really kind of how you tear families down. I think they're taking a different approach to crime. They still are acknowledging that they do have crime. They have a new chief of police now, Danielle Outlaw. She's absolutely amazing. She was the chief of police in Portland for a while. She has a few TED Talks out there, but she leads with community policing.
Okay.
And I just think it's absolutely amazing. The things that she's doing, considering how tough of a challenge it is in Philadelphia, I think she's taken a very positive approach to try to rebuild the relationship with the community.
Can I ask you kind of a little bit of a controversial question? But I mean,
Sure,
I think you'll have a better perspective on it than I might. Um, let's talk about systemic racism for a moment, if you don't mind.
sure.
Uh, with respect to the stuff that happens in Philly and the impoverished areas that you've seen and that you're aware of, is it would you say that between that and the criminal element that's unfortunately harboring in that area, is it a result from systemic racism, would you say, or is this something that is more environmental in the way that the money is being distributed within the city and the state?
100% systemic racism.
It is 100% systemic racism. That see,
Right.
yeah, it's one of those things that I feel is grossly well, okay, I could stand on a soapbox for years in order to be able to this, but
Oh,
as a
we can have this
professor,
conversation.
yeah, but as a professor, it's one of those things that I teach cultural diversity and critical thinking. So for me, it, it's ingrained into my thought process to understand the rationale for why something's happening and to be able to dissect it and say, okay, well, here is the rationale and here is the reasoning for these individuals who are congregating within this area, and they may have just no other way to get out of it. They may have no other way to 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 move if they don't have the money to do so, or if they don't have the means to do so, or the resources,
Right.
and improve their lives. So I mean, to me, I feel it, I see it, and it just makes more sense that it's something we really need to address within our society, and I think, and it just I wanted to pull you into this conversation because I have my own views on this, and I think we're on the same mindset, but it's just one of those things I think I need to understand from perspective and
Right.
kind of see where we're at on that whole process.
If you don't mind, I'll give a little bit more of my point of view.
Please, by all means.
So, as an African American man, um, my family is from Philadelphia, my mom's side. And my grandfather was one out of 21 kids that came to America from Cuba, but he's the only one that came to the United States. So when he came, he was poor. He started a family. The thing is, what my family went through as well with African American families is, for one, we didn't have as many opportunities. So a young lady not too long ago mentioned, she used she tried to paint a picture of how systemic racism really impacts you, and she used the analogy of Monopoly. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
So how if me and you were to play let's just say me and you play 400 rounds in Monopoly, and for the first 300 rounds, you tell me that I cannot buy any property. And every time I pass go, I have to make sure I give you that money. And then after 300 years, you finally say, okay, now you can buy. Well, you done bought everything up, right?
It's kind of like the analogy I hear about, like if somebody, like if we're running a relay race and we say on your mark, get set, okay, and only Scott can go, and I'm like three
Right.
quarters through the race,
That's the
and
head
now you
start.
can start going. Yeah, exactly. So
Right.
it's
And
like,
then by the time I have an opportunity, you done brought everything up. But let's say when I do get an opportunity, so let's say, I'm the needle in the haystack. I'm the kid that found a way out of Philadelphia. Well, think about it. When it comes to minority communities, specifically African Americans, when you become successful, you don't move back to your neighborhood. I moved to your neighborhood. Now, how much of an impact is that? Well, we all understand that a lot of the foundational things that we learn as a kid is from what we see, who we come across, right? So if the kids in the city are only seeing drug dealers and people that are struggling because the successful people moved out, how are they ever going to see success?
mm,
When they think about being successful, they see the drug dealer driving
the
the vehicle.
gangs. Yeah,
They
exactly.
don't see somebody like me that has 3 degrees. They don't see someone like you. But see, using you as an example, if you become successful, it's more of a chance that you can move back to your neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's so deep. And then there was a lot of redlining in
Oh
Philadelphia
yeah.
itself. The community that I grew up was part of the Supreme Court case with Levitt that did the redlining. And a
Brian,
lot of people from Philly moved there.
For a quick second, for my students who don't necessarily understand what redlining is, can you explain that to them?
Oh, sure, sure. So redlining was a play that a lot of bankers and developers was using during the civil rights time, even before then, where they refused to sell their homes to African American communities, or they just refused to give loans to African Americans that applied, and they did that to preserve. the quality, as they would say, of their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then they would say if a black family moved in, the value started to go down. And then once the Supreme Court case against Levitt, that was the builder. So he had three communities, one in New York, one in New Jersey, and one in Pennsylvania called Levittown. Well, when he lost that Supreme Court case, what they did was they drove down the value of them homes in that area where people from the city could now buy, but then you also had the Great White Flight, where people that was already living there would move to another neighborhood. So, even though now, okay, you can live outside the city, you can live in the suburbs, then you didn't have the funding anymore. The values of the house was cheaper. You have a bigger foster care population, a bigger rental population. So you still have very similar issues, even though you're no longer in the city. You know.
It's one of those issues. I wish we. I mean, I think one of the solutions, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. This is just one man's opinion, is to try and do what we can in order to reinvest in those communities, in order to try and bring them up.
Mhm.
Obviously, I think I have very strong views on reparations, and I think that that's something we have to really give some serious weight to, in terms of whether it would be a denomination view or whether that would be something that would be a resource related item series. Oh my gosh, dude, there's just so many different
Right.
things, and
We could talk forever on that.
I know, I know, I know.
Yeah.
I don't want to get
I
too
do
far
not
off the
believe we
mark.
should get a pass cash payout though, because I think my community needs financial literacy first, and I would be fearful if we did receive a cash payout,
It would just
what that would
be
look
spent.
like. And
Yeah.
and that's not throwing shade or anything on anyone,
Mm-mm.
but just in general, we just need more financial literacy because if we are trying to get a bump, and especially for the next generation, we can't blow it. Right now, African Americans, we spend the most when it comes to entertainment and clothing and stuff like that. And the point of reparations will be to reinvest and give us a bump so we can, become more competitive and
Yeah.
have more opportunities. So I would like to see a mixture and more of a heavy leaning towards resources. But then I'm also very fearful if they did do something like that, who would be on those boards making that decision? And who would kind of like backdoor and still get benefits, even though it's really
Yeah.
not for us. So I don't know. I have a lot more I'm a lot more optimistic when it comes to the next generation than I am for us.
Well, clearly you've got one right in your hand there. So,
Yes,
one
yes,
other thing I did want to make mention of before we leave security and safety here is obviously in terms of foreign and domestic terrorism. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the flight crash that occurred during 9/11 in Pennsylvania,
right.
where the passengers overtook the cabin and forced the plane down in order to. I think that one was heading towards either DC or, if I'm right,
Yeah, they believe if Flight 93. I just
Flight
looked it up.
93.
Yeah, Flight 93. They apparently they think it was going to the White House.
Okay.
That's what they think. So they don't know 100% sure, but the flight path itself, it was still only about 2 hours or so from the White House,
Okay.
or 90 minutes. They have a memorial,
Hmm.
the Flight 93 Memorial, which is beautiful. I've been there. Um, it is, you definitely want to go there if you're ready for something like that because it's a highly emotional situation to put yourself in.
Same with Ground Zero in New York as well.
Right, right. As soon as you pull up, you can see these huge columns, and it's column after column after column for about, I want to say, 200 yards. And that's the flight path that the flight took before it took a nosedive into the ground. And then the area where the plane blew up is a humongous graves field. So they just fenced it off because although they tried a really good job to recover all the bodies and things like that, there were still body parts that they were not able to recover at the time. But in general, I do think that they really did a good job just putting it together. They recovered a lot of artifacts. You have people's IDs. Um, you can hear voicemails that people were leaving their family members. And then they also just built it's a huge bell. And I believe people go up and ring it, and it's supposed to signify all the voices or something like that from the flight. Um, I'll get you that information because I just saw it. I was actually just there uh, 2 months ago. but we didn't go in that time. So 3 years ago I went in, or 2 months ago I saw another. They added another addition. It was this beautiful, beautiful bell made out of natural stone. Though it's not
Hmm.
an actual bell. It's made out of natural stone, and you chime it. It's
That's
pretty cool.
impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so not to leave on a a somber note, because you are one of the most
Yeah.
cheery and chuckly guys I know. Um, Talk to me really quick. Let's just do a quick, like 30 seconds. Why do I want to go to PA? What's the purpose of me wanting to visit?
Well, Pennsylvania itself, as we discussed, it just has so much history there. A lot of beautiful history. If you're interested in learning more about the United States, or even just getting close to how we were, I'm sorry about
It's okay.
that, to how this country came about with the Constitution, things like that. But then it also is a beautiful opportunity for date night. It's a beautiful opportunity for. Well, can we pause?
Hmm.
Hold on, a second.
Sure.
Brianna. Go.
All right, and we're back. So, really quickly, you wanted to talk to us about why people want to visit. Obviously, the historical nature of everything that's in PA is just phenomenal.
Yes. Uh, Pennsylvania in itself is just it's a beautiful place to go, and you can get a lot of different environments and different types of vibes in a very short amount of time. So if you want to focus on Philadelphia, you can get a lot of the old history of the United States, be able to see the Liberty Bell, and stand where Betsy Ross stood, and run up the steps that
Do the Rocky thing.
did, and go to the
Woo!
Italian market, things like that, which is really cool. But then you also can kind of be take a relaxed vacation as well. Go to the Poconos or Hershey, and just have fun with a loved one, or with your family. With Pittsburgh itself, I would just say that's just so beautiful. They have so many beautiful sites, including a lift that you can go up a mountain, and it's the city of rivers. So you just see a lot of beautiful a lot of beautiful bodies of water and things like that. But in general, I just think Philly is a great place. You won't leave hungry because you have a lot of food options, and you'll see some beautiful art, and learn a lot of history in the process.
I know it had one of the largest malls I think I'd ever been to, King of
King of Prussia.
Prussia. Yeah, exactly. It was massive.
Yeah, how could I forget about that? King of Prussia. Yeah,
So,
humongous.
yeah, it's one of the most sizable malls I have been to, and so it's just again great stuff to do. By the way, since we were talking about poverty earlier, I know there's a project that you are working on with your school. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm so excited about this, and I appreciate you allowing me the space to speak about this. So, as I stated before, I'm a middle school teacher, and specifically with my eighth grade businesses, we create a business every marking period, and a very fitting approach that we're doing this marking period. Instead of doing a for-profit, we're doing a nonprofit. And my students decided that they wanted to support homeless children. So they are right now rolling up their sleeves, working extremely hard, building a nonprofit organization so they can collect funds to support local homeless children. In every district in my state, they have a homeless a coordinator and liaison, and we are going to donate all proceeds and funds to the homeless coordinator. And what's so interesting is these kids didn't realize that there are kids that they go to school with, and we don't obviously keep their information confidential, but there's kids that they go to school with that you would never know that's either homeless, living in hotels, living in shelters, or going back and forth with families. So once they learned about that, they decided to stand up. And in our little world, we're going to make a difference. My kids are excited about it, and I want to fully support them. So if you are interested, you may email me directly at brian.johnson@apple.k12.de.us, and I appreciate your support in advance.
Thank you so much, Brian. And thank you for your time, by the way. I'm going to repeat the email address, by the way, just because I know I have some people on the podcast. It's Brian, spelled Brian Johnson, Johnson, at Appo, spelled Appo, not Apple, but Appo, dot K12, K12, dot DE, as in the state of Delaware, dot US.
Right.
Perfect. Brian, great job talking with you, man. Again, thank you so much for doing this for us. I know my students really appreciate and learning more, and you've been wonderful. So thank you so kindly. And I hope we see you again on one of these podcasts and vlogs.
Well, no problem. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much. And for my viewers that are out there, if you have any questions or comments about anything, you can certainly send them to scott@theprofessortravel.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the bell icon right above us in order to be notified about when new videos come out. If you haven't already subscribed, please click on the subscribe button right there. It doesn't cost you anything, and it actually really helps us out. And then if you like the content that you're seeing, hit the like button, and we'll be more than happy to deliver more of it to you. One final thing, though, if you are listening to this on the podcast, please feel free to review us and rate us. We really do appreciate that. And until our next time, make every day a travel adventure. Take care, everybody. Bye bye now.